I want to talk about what might be the weirdest game of the week, and that is the Lions and the Vikings. A familiar matchup, divisional game, get it twice a year, so obviously not weird in that respect, but it is a historic game for this specific reason, okay? Beller pulled the stat, really appreciate him doing it. In the Super Bowl era, there have been 8 instances in week 14 or later where a team with an 800 or better winning percentage has been an underdog to a team that was below 500. Okay. The last 5 times it happened, week 18 of the 2020 season, the Chiefs had the 1 seed locked up. That was a Chad Henne game against the Chargers that I vividly remember.
Yeah.
Week 18 of the 2016 season, Cowboys had the 1 seed locked up. They're playing against the Eagles. Week 18 of the 2009 season, Colts had the 1 seed locked up.
Sorry, I know I'm ruining your flow. Week 17 then.
Week
I know
17.
you've trained yourself so well that
week 17, excuse me. Last week of the season is what I'm getting at here.
There you go.
All of these, the last week of the season when teams had the bye locked up.
Every single one.
So this is truly an unprecedented thing for a team with this winning percentage, this deep into the season, to be an underdog to a team with a losing record. But you step back and think about it, and the way that the Lions have looked recently, the way the Vikings have looked recently, it's like, all right, kind of makes sense. I don't think it's that nuts for that to be the line in this game. So there are a couple things to dig into here. One, just the state of the NFC. 2, we've been joking all year. Are the Vikings good? Are the Vikings good? I've asked every single person that's come on this show. Now it's time to ask the markets. The markets have given you a definitive answer, and their answer is no, the Lions are not, or the Vikings are not good.
There's always Vegas always knows, like that. That's what they're kind of saying. They're like, now it's the home field advantage isn't as drastic. I think they've knocked it down like a half point. So it's more that 2.5 instead of 3 now. So they're basically saying, yeah, these teams are about even with these wildly different records and wildly different trajectories of their season. But I think with this Vikings team, there's plenty of stats talking about how has come out about them in 1-score games and how, over time that can fall out. Their expected win-loss is they're basically 6-6. They're 6.3 to 5.7. Their expected win-loss. I mean,
and I'm sure the Vikings, I'm sure the Lions are right around there based on their record in 1-score games.
Yeah, I didn't even look it up, but I'm going to. But also, but if you just want to credit, yes, we like the Vikings do, and the Vikings are fine. It's just that's what I don't want Vikings fans to be sensitive about. That they're like, we're not saying they're bad. It's just that they're fine, as opposed to their record is not indicative of their fineness. And I think just on the flip side is the Lions, and we've talked about this, is they're playing how we wanted them to play in September, and they've really come into their own. Since their bye week, it's always fun to look at teams after the bye week because that's when you can see adjustments. Usually the good teams adjust anyways. And the Lions, since their bye week, which was in week 6, so since week 7, they're 4th in offensive success rate, 7th in offensive EPA per play, and 9th in defensive DVOA. They are a top 10 team, like at every metric, eye test. They're healthier. Their guys are coming back. You're seeing DJ Chark really step up last week. Jameson Williams is coming in. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a star. Their offensive line has gotten healthy again, and they have depth there. Jared Goff is playing within the scheme, and their defense has cleaned up a lot of their woes. This Lions team is not like, oh, a surprising, nifty, this is like a fun Lions team. They're legitimately a good team right now.
They are good
right now. And that's what I think we just have to realize. That's why the betting markets show this as well.
Over the last month, the last 4 games, the Lions are 3rd in EPA per play on offense, behind only the Chiefs and the Cowboys. Okay. The Vikings are 18th. Defense is what was holding the Lions back the entire year. Their defense wasn't just bad. It was league worst.
Historically bad.
It was so bad. And that tends to normalize. For the most part. If your defense is that bad, it's usually going to get at least a little bit better.
Yeah.
And for the Lions, like, they're not good on defense, but over the last month, they're 23rd in EPA per play on defense. The Vikings are 20th. Yeah. So right now, the current state of these teams, there just isn't really an area where the Vikings are better than the Lions, but the Vikings are 10-2, and the Lions are probably not going to make the playoffs.
That's where they have a 10% chance. I think we looked.
The tie last week hurt them because they had the tiebreaker over both of those teams, and then now it doesn't really matter because Washington and the Giants tied.
Oh, I know. I kind of want the Lions team in there as well. But that's the thing with the Vikings team. I really dove into the stats, watching them the eye test. They're trying to figure stuff out, especially the 2 tight end looks. They're trying to just piece their way mid-season. That's what's so fun, watching these teams adjust. And I was really hoping after the Hawkinson trade that like some stats would really jump. And it's like, not really. They are kind of middle of the pack in everything, 16th to 25th, and like everything on offense or defense. If you look at EPA, you look at success rate, run, passing, offense or defense. There's nothing that really stands out. Explosive play rate. They've been poor on the ground, just generating those explosive plays. I think that's going to become an underrated thing. This is a sidebar. Watching the Rams the last few years, now watching this Lions team, or I'm sorry, this Vikings offense, is we underestimated all the play action stuff that comes from it. But those offenses got a lot through the ground, those Rams teams, a lot of explosive plays through the ground. That's why that 2020 Rams, they started hitting a wall. And McVay's like, man, we don't have healthy Gurley anymore. We don't have a great offensive line that's kicking ass anymore. All right, let's trade for the quarterback because that'll make our lives easier. That's why you make the trade for the quarterback, was because of that. They had that boon down on the ground. And I think that's what's going through with this Vikings team right now. It's right. They're not getting much from the ground game, but they're trying to find their way in the passing game because they have this guy, Justin Jefferson.
And talk about the lack of explosive plays on offense. You know, no team in the NFL has given up more explosive passes this year than the Vikings.
I did not know that.
16 plus yards. Vikings are dead last.
That's interesting.
The Lions have turned into one of the most explosive passing offenses in the league. This is just a bad situation. And the number that I keep coming back to, and the Lions run less play action than I thought. Like if I just think of the Lions in my head, they're just this downhill running play action team. And they're actually not. They're kind of middle of the road, even like early down play action rate. But it's a big part of their passing offense, and it's why they can get a lot of chunks out of it, right?
Yeah.
Minnesota is dead last in net yards per attempt against play action this year. They're giving up over 10 yards per attempt, net yards per attempt against play action this season. They're 31st in the NFL in EPA per dropback against play action. Like, you can get gashes against this team, and there are very few offenses in the league right now that are better at creating gashes than the Lions.
Yeah.
And so that's why every layer of this that you start thinking about, it makes more and more sense that this line looks the way that it does.